Hi, good evening. Sorry, good morning, good evening also for online students. Okay, so today we are going to discuss the last concepts of the manual testing portion. But before going to talk about the test execution, defect reporting, and test closure, I will give the brief introduction about the topics in manual testing, what we discussed. Okay, just to understand my head. In the beginning class, I explained about the introduction to software testing. In this, we got an idea. What is software testing? What is software testing? It is like an interview point of view, how the questions and how the answers are going to be. What is software testing? Explain advantages of it. So when you talk about the software testing, it is a combination of verification and validation. It is a combination of verification and validation, or we can say software testing is a process used to identify correctness, completeness, and to measure quality of developed software. Quality of developed software. What are the advantages of software testing? Means it will help to deliver a reliable product to the customer. Software testing will minimize the maintenance cost for a project. It will help to deliver bug-free application to the customer. And also, it will help to stay in business. That's the advantages we have when you go for the introduction to when we go for the software testing. What is software testing? It is a combination of verification and validation. So advantages are it will help to deliver reliable product to the customer. It will minimize the maintenance cost for a project. It will help to stay in business. It will help to deliver a bug-free application to the customer. Those are the advantages. Then difference among the error. Difference among the error, defect, bug, and failure. Difference among the error, defect, bug, and failure. What is an error? It is a human mistake which are identified in application programs level or source code of the application is called error. It can be like a logical error or syntax error. Defect. It is a deviation between expected to actual result in AUT. It is a deviation between expected to actual results in AUT application under test. Whereas a defect can also called as an issue or incident or fault. Bug. When developers are accepted our defects which we reported, those are called bugs. Whenever developers are accepted our defects which we reported, those are called bugs. Failure. When defects are reached to the customer, then it is called failure. That means more number of defects will cause the system failure. More number of defects will cause the system failure. Types of software testing. In general, organization follows two kind of approaches. One is called manual testing. The second one is called automation testing. So what is the difference between manual testing and automation testing? Manual testing means without using any automation tool, testing unit with a reference of the test cases directly he is going to validate the application to say test is pass or failed. This is called manual testing. Without using any automation tool, test engineer directly interact with the application to verify actual behavior while performing operations is called manual testing. But whenever we go for the manual testing, for that we have to prepare the test cases which are used to validate application. Advantage of manual testing is it is simple and easy to perform. Another advantage is it will take the less cost compared to the automation testing for small projects. But we have some disadvantages when you go for the manual testing. One is time consuming, inconsistency, lack of reliability. These are the disadvantages we have in the manual testing. Automation testing. So in simple, automating human activities in order to validate application is called automation testing. Automation testing. Testing unit will use some third-party tools to test the application. There are different ways we can do automation testing using directive programming languages or using scripting languages or some third-party tools such as Selenium, Tosca, Test Complete, QRL, like these tools are available. What are the advantages of automation testing is definitely fast in execution, more consistency, more reliable. Automation test scripts are reusable on different versions of the application. That means one time you have to give the efforts to develop the automation test script. Same script we can use on different versions of the application. Whereas automation test scripts are repeatable. We can able to execute the scripts n number of times. So the advantages we have. Disadvantages point of view, automation tools are expensive. Even though we have some non-commercial tools, those tools you want to use, skilled automation testings are required. Some of the technologies are not possible to automate. Okay, these are the topics which we can expect in the interview point of view from this. from this concept, introduction to the software testing. Okay. Next, I explain about the introduction to software. The basic things which you have to know. Types of software. So that is based on development. How you will get the requirements to develop the software. One is called product-based software. Other one is called project-based software. Right. Product-based software means when we develop the software based on generic or standard requirements in a market. Generic or standard requirements in a market, that is called product based. Usually by conducting survey in market where they are going to develop the software, that is a product based software are going to call. When we develop the software based on specific client requirements or particular organization requirements. Okay. Again, types of software, that is based on uses, what purpose we are going to use software based on the three categories: system software, programming software, application software. That means software which we are going to use for system purpose, computer purpose, that we are going to call system software. That means the software which we use to provide interface or communication among the system components is called system software. Is called system software. System software, programming software, application software. The software which we are going to use to provide communication among the system component that we are going to call system software, such as operating systems, device drivers, utility software. This comes under system software. Second one is programming software. That means software which we use to develop generally the software which will have the characteristics like where we can able to so write the programming languages or scripting languages, where we can able to write the programming languages or scripting languages, compile, debug, and able to execute those things where we are going to call. So IDEs we are going to call integrated development environment. Okay, so these things comes under programming software, like Eclipse IDE is a programming software which we use to develop the Java programs. PyCharm IDE, PyCharm IDE. So to write the Python programs, we are going to use the PyCharm IDE. We are going to use it, right? Such a way. Now, third one is application software. Usually, application software where we are going to call front-end applications. Majority of the application softwares are going to develop based on the client business needs. Client business needs. So different kind of business such as banking, insurance, telecom, healthcare, ERP, that comes under different kind of business. Usually, this kind of application software will have the front end, which is used to manipulate the data into the back end. Okay, but as a QA tester, we are going to test the application software testing. We do application software testing. Okay, so here is the question here. Two questions I introduced. So why did you choose software testing as a career? Why did you choose software testing as a career? The other question what I given here. So what type of skill set? What type of skill set required for QA test? You want to work as a test engineer. So what type of skill set required? So now first question. Why did you choose software testing as a career? Means you can say like this. Software testing is technology independent. So any graduate eligible to work as a test engineer, there is scope to learn different kind of domains because while testing the different business applications, how the business transactions are going to be, the knowledge are going to get consistency in terms of job, how long software exists, testing is required, testing jobs will be available, and moreover, you are passionate about the testing activities compared to the your core job activities. These are the reasons are motivated you to go for the software testing as career. So if you want to work as a test engineer, what type of skill set required for us is required skill set is as a test engineer, you should aware of the manual testing concepts such as different kind of testing techniques, software development activities. Then you should have the different kind of testing techniques, knowledge, how to identify the scenarios, how to derive the test data, test cases, how to perform the execution, and how to go for the defect reporting. So the manual testing portion. Then any one of the automation tool knowledge also required in present scenario. The defect reporting tool, Jira, Bugzilla, either one of the tool knowledge is required. Then required skill set for QA testing. These are the mandatory skills. Apart that, if we have the some basic knowledge on database, Having some API knowledge is add advantage too. Okay. So apart this portion, so what are the different kind of environments are there? Types of environment. We have the development environment, test environment, user acceptance test environment, then production environment. So the four types of environments are there. So development environment, usually development team is going to involve here. Their job is to develop the application by writing the programs. Right. Testing team is going to involve in the test environment, which is also called a staging environment. UAT environment, client to team or business users are going to involve. Production environment, nothing but a live environment. Difference from the client, end user, and the company. So difference among the client, end user, and the company. Client can also called a customer or stakeholder. Client can also called as customer or stakeholder. So who will provide the business to the software company? Who will provide the business? Who will provide the requirements to develop the software? End user, the person who will going to use software in their business. Company means in IT industry point of view, it is an organization where software will be developed as per the given requirements. Again, there are two types of companies in IT industry. One is called product-based company. Other one is called service-based company. Product-based company means the company which will focus on their own products to develop. That is called product-based company. Service-based company means the company which will develop individual projects for individual clients. That is called service-based company. If I go for the Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, these are considered product-based company. Service-based company, TCS, Essential, Capgemini, Infosys. These are companies considered service-based companies. Okay. Then we discussed about the software development life cycle. Software development life cycle, SDLC, or system development life cycle also we are going to call. It describes the systematic approach followed by an organization to develop the software project or product to fulfill the client requirements within the specified cost and time. Software development life cycle in simple describes development process of software project or product to fulfill the client requirements within the specified cost and time. Various phases involved in the software development life cycle. Following are the phases involved in SDLC. First one is requirements collection. Generally, the business analyst is the responsible business analyst, the who is going to interact with the client to collect his business needs. Collected requirements will be documented as BRS, business requirement specifications, or user requirement specifications, or client requirement specifications. BRS consists brief description or core business logic of the client in terms of who are the users for application, who are the users for application, required services for those users, required services for those users. After that, BRS document is prepared. There is a activity conducted, feasibility study. The intention of this kind of feasibility study to confirm whether that project is acceptable or not to develop. Here, a business analyst will play the key role along with some technical experts. They discuss whether this project is acceptable or not. What are the points they are going to discuss during this feasibility study? Means first thing, finance
Finance feasibility.
feasibility. That means how much cost it will take to develop the software, how much amount client is paying for us, is there any financial benefits for our company? Second, time feasibility. What is the time required to develop the software? When client expecting the project? Within that time, is it possible or not to develop? Third one is whichever requirements are given by the client, technically, is it possible or not to develop? These are the things they have to study. So after feasibility study, if project is acceptable, then they start working on a project. The next activity, requirements analysis. Here, system analyst who is going to do the review on the requirement documents. Based on that, he is going to prepare the FRS or SRS, functional requirement specification or system requirement specification. Functional requirement specification describes the detailed functional flow of the each functionality in application. Each functionality in application describes it. Okay, that is a FRS or system requirement specification. For successful software development, a clear FRS document is essential. In practical, 95% of projects will be failed due to unclear requirements in this FRS. That is FRS is very much important. Every component, every transaction flow, or every component, how it has to work will be described more detailed way. Then design, technical architect. After study the requirement documents such as BRS and FRS documents, the technical architect who is going to decide what type of architecture required to develop the application in order to fulfill all these client requirements. Whether we have to go for the Windows based application or web based application. Okay. So after deciding architecture, they decide what type of programming or scripting language we have to use and database technology to develop the application. After that, he is going to prepare the few documents GUI, graphical user interface, design document, database design document, then technical design document or application design document, which will have the high level design, low level design document. Okay. So usually you know that GA design document contains a prototype of the application. Prototype, database design document describe the about database structure. High level design document describe the root to leaf structure of the modules. LLD describe the internal logic of the each module. Then coding, developers. Output of this phase is source code document. Then testing. After coding, computer programs are available for execution. Initially, so development team will perform the unit testing and integration testing using white box testing techniques. After that, a separate testing team, that means where we are going to involve, will perform the system testing using black box testing technique. Then client team or business users will perform the user acceptance test or acceptance test. Finally, we have the deployment and maintenance. Deployment after system testing and user acceptance testing. If client is satisfied with our work product, then we deliver the application to the customer for further usage at his work environment. Is called go live or production or deployment or release. We are going to say. Next, maintenance. While using software, there is a possibility client can identify some defects, or he may need some new features in application based on the market demand. Then he will send the change request to the company. Based on that, we work on the change request. Then we deliver modified version to the customer. This is about the software development lifecycle. Then SDLC related concepts we discussed. In this first thing, what are the common problems in SDLC? Generally, the common problems are poor requirements. That means when initial requirements are not clear or incomplete, that will be a problem to develop the software. Then unrealistic schedule. That means if too much of work crammed in a too little time, that will be a problem to develop the software. Inadequate testing or incomplete testing. In present scenario, it is difficult to estimate how much testing sufficient to validate the application. In present scenario, it's difficult to estimate how much testing is sufficient to validate the application. Then, dynamic changes in requirements. Dynamic changes in requirements. If client continuously sending changes in requirements while developing software, there is also a problem to develop the application phase. Okay. Dynamic changes in requirements. So finally, we have the miscommunication. So the common problems we are going to find while developing software. The next thing, when do defects will arise while developing software? When do defects will arise while developing software? There is a possibility mistakes in coding. Developers may commit the mistake. Not only that, there is a possibility mistakes in design. Design team also may commit the mistakes, or there can be incorrect requirements. The next I explained difference among the defects leakage, latent defect, and masked defect. Defects leakage means defects which are slipped or moved from QA environment. Defects which are slipped or moved from QA environment, that we are going to do defects leakage. Latent defects means defects which are identified at later stages, not while testing. Those are going to call latent defects are going to call. Masked defect means defect which will hide another defect. Defect which will hide another defect. That defect we are going to call masked defect we are going to call. Next thing, QA and QC. Software quality assurance, software quality control.
Sir,
So generally,
hello. Sir,
yes,
may I know mask defect how it is? Like, so one defect masking the other defect means? I mean, can you give the example? Hello? Can you
yes,
hear me,
ma'am.
sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'll tell you.
Okay.
So now here in this window, I have one defect. This cancel button is not working. Okay, this cancel button not working. But when I want to go for testing here at the time, so page setup option also disabled to me. When this page setup option is disabled, due to that reason, where I am not able to find this cancel button is working on, because when page setup option disabled, I can't open this page to find this cancel button is working or not. So there is a defect actual cancel button is also not working, but I can't test it is. So here because of this page setup option is disabled. So this page setup which is disabled, this defect we are going to call mask defect, because this defect is hiding another defect in the application to me where I am not able to find it. That is called mask defect we are going to call.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance, generally the QA team will define development process, of software in order to prevent the defects. Once they define the process, they are not going to sit idle. They will going to monitor teams are following defined process or not. If any weakness identified, the QA team will provide the some suggestion for the to improve development process. So QA is the process oriented. QC we call as product or outcomes oriented. QA team involved throughout development process. QC team will involve after product built. The major interest of the QA is defects preventive approach. Major intention of the quality control defects detective approach. Usually, auditing reviews are the QA activities, whereas software testing is an example for the software testing is an example for the QC activity. Okay, these are the topics we discuss in software development life cycle related concepts. Then SDLC methodologies are models. SDLC methodologies are models. Generally, high-level management team or QA team, along with the client, will decide which model is suitable to develop the software. Then the QA team will define which process we have to follow to develop the application. Next thing, how the selection criteria will be based on need of client and the complexity of requirements. So they will going to select the required model to develop the software based on need of client and the complexity of the requirements. They can adapt any one of the model to develop the software. Okay. Based on need of client and complex requirements, we can adapt any one of the model. What are the models are there? So one is called waterfall model. Second one is called V model. Third one is called Agile Scrum methodology. So waterfall model, which is also called as linear sequential waterfall model. Waterfall model is also called as linear sequential waterfall model. In general, this model is suitable for the small projects which have the clear requirements and routine type of projects. That means the well-known infrastructure of the application. Well-known infrastructure of the application. For those kind of applications, we can go for the waterfall model. So diagrammatically how it looks like. First requirements collection. After all the requirements are collected, those are clear, then we can go for the requirements analysis. After this requirements analysis, we can go for the design. After this design, we can go for the coding. Once coding is done, we can go for the testing. After testing, we can go for the deployment and maintenance. But disadvantage of this kind of waterfall model, early stages identify defects are not possible due to later stage of testing. Another disadvantage is this model is not suitable to handle the dynamic changes in requirements. Dynamic changes in requirements. So second one is a V model. V stands for verification and validation. So major advantage of this model, how much importance they are given for the development activities, same weightage given for the testing activities also. How much importance they are given for the development activities, same weightage they provided for the development activities. Okay. So generally, it is preferable for the big projects which have the clear requirements. Big projects which have the clear requirements. In this model also, application developed in sequential approach like this. First requirements collection. After that, they go for the requirements analysis. After requirements analysis completed, they do review on the requirement document. Once the review is complete on requirement documents, then they go for the design. In this V model, design also divided into the two levels, high level design, low level design. After this design is complete, they go for the review on design documents. Then they go for the coding. After coding, they do unit testing, integration testing. To perform this kind of testing, they can do the white box testing techniques. They use white box testing techniques. After the system testing, user acceptance testing. So here meeting point in this V model is coding it is for the verification, validation, whichever activities they do before coding to confirm are we developing the system right or not is called verification activity. After coding, whatever testing activities we perform to confirm are we developing the right system or not? Are we developing right system or not? That is comes under validation activities. Okay. Next one, third one is agile methodologies. It is an incremental and iterative framework approach to develop the application. So when you talk about agile scrum methodology, this is the keyword where we expect in the interview's point of. It is an incremental and iterative framework approach to develop the software. In this approach, application developed in terms of sprints. After development and testing of each instead of model, here we have the sprints. After development and testing of each sprint that will be given presentation to the stakeholder, that's called sprint review to get an approval and gain funding for the next sprint implementation. When you talk about the sprint, sprint is one time box iteration of a continuous development cycle. Within a sprint, a planned amount of work has to be completed by the team and made ready for review. Made ready for review. In each sprint, we need to add user stories. In each sprint, we need to add user stories. So who is going to create this sprint sprints? Your Scrum Master is going to create. The sprint duration is going to fit into the time boxes we are going to call. So in Agile, deliverables can be expected within a day to maximum 4 weeks of time. That is, in average, every 2 weeks sprint can be expected. These small life cycles we call as time boxes. The diagram we try to understand. The inputs are taken from stakeholder by a product owner. Then is going to create the product backlogs in terms of epics. Epic is larger requirement, building blocks, product backlog, which are the features we have to implement. Then they go for the sprint planning by Scrum team members, where they give the estimations. Based on the Scrum Master is going to create the sprints here, and some user stories are added to the sprint which we need to develop. That will be assigned to the Scrum team. The Scrum team daily they go for the analysis, design, build, test, reviews. So this continuous process. Every day they are going to conduct the Scrum meetings to discuss and to know the status of the last 24 hours. So 1 to 2 weeks, in average, majority of companies are going to maintain the 15 days. Then we have the shippable product increment it is. So once sprint is given demo to the client, the sprint review are going to come. Once sprint is satisfied, before going to start work on the next sprint. So what went well, what went wrong, areas where we need to improve. These things are going to be discussed by the Scrum Master, product owners, Scrum team members. Okay. So what are the major advantages of the Agile methodologies? To maximize the team's ability to deliver quickly and respond to changing requirements, to develop the functionality in smaller and stable increments, to have potential deliverable product in shorter periods of time, and all are participating in Scrum meetings so that better visibility and communication we are going to get. But we have some disadvantage here. Agile doesn't need too much of documentation. It mainly focuses on frequent delivery of the project due to face conversation among the team members. Everything is transparent here, right? So these things already we discussed. Okay. So these are things which you have to focus mainly in the interview point of time regarding manual testing. That's what I'm explaining to you. So up to now, this portion we discussed introduction to software testing, introduction to software, from software development lifecycle, SDLC related concepts, then SDLC methodologies or models. Then, then we went into the testing activities. Okay. So what I will do, I will give the 15 minutes break time. Then we'll continue the so testing techniques we are going to discuss. Okay. So I will take 15 minutes to break. So try to rejoin the session at almost 9:35. So you rejoin the session at 9:50. Okay. I will end the session or you can stay. I'm going to stop the recording.